welcome to this edition of Crossover. I'm Ji Xiaojun with Charlotte and Julian.
First of all, I want to say that you look wonderful. This kind of...
Thank you.
Is it green? This type of green?
It's green.
It looks beautiful on you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
It is green.
Oh, but you don't think it looks good on me?
Well, anyway, I mean...
You're avoiding the question.
Oh, that's horrible. She looks good.
Go. Yeah, fantastic.
Thank you.
This is not green now. Anyway,
Next topic.
well, basically, I mean, this is a show really designed to increase the mutual understanding between Chinese and foreigners. But sometimes, last time we had an episode about the frequently asked questions from Chinese people to foreigners and the sort of puzzlement we have about foreigners. And this time we are doing the same thing, but the other way around.
In reverse.
Oh, that's
exactly.
That's cool.
The questions we tend to get from foreigners.
Cool.
The most frequently asked questions. And these questions are actually from the website. So you can agree with them or disagree with them. That's fine. I mean, basically, this is just what we can find on the internet. First one. Which one is your first name? That's the question lots of foreigners will ask a Chinese friend. But Julian, this is your first name. Charlotte is your first name.
But then we're talking about foreigners asking Chinese people what is their first name. So, I'm thinking...
so my name is Ji Xiaojun.
So yes, and in the West, usually the word is Xiaojun and foreigners just don't know which one it is. Even with two characters, Yao Ming, same thing. Now people know that Yao is the family name, and you have to say Yao Ming. But most of the time, even in sporting events, you hear it at the Olympics when it's not in China or other events, it's always the same problem. They reverse the name and the family.
Yeah, and to many of my international friends, foreign friends, and I'm known to them as Ji. And I said, no, it's Xiaojun. Say that again? Okay, well, just Ji, call me Ji.
You know,
Ji it is.
Because with Chinese names, I mean, you can have either two words, like Yao Ming, right? Or three, Ji Xiaojun, right? And so I think, and you know, it's sometimes people find it hard to guess what's the surname, what's the given name. Because sometimes a surname can be more than one character.
Yeah.
More than one word.
Or sometimes two words.
Right, like Sima, right?
Or Ouyang.
Or Ouyang. So the fail-safe way to do it is just say the full name.
And even now, I mean, not only are there some surnames that have two characters, and now a lot of people use their father and their mother's family name.
Well,
put them together.
But I mean, yeah, it's something new.
So
it's
much.
not, yeah.
Yes.
But still, you see it.
You see it.
Yeah.
And also one thing which is interesting, this is a slightly different thing, but I think we talked about it before. Like your name is Xiaojun, so your first name has two characters.
Yeah.
So I can call you Xiaojun. Somebody whose name is Fan Jun, for example. It's tough to call him Jun.
Right.
Just
well,
if it's only
really
one character.
Yeah.
Right.
In one of the movies, which was quite successful, we have actually a little episode of one of the lead characters trying to explain to his students in America, first name,
how it works,
surnames. Let's take a look.
What movie is that?
我叫刘元儿，刘是我的姓，元是我的名。我们中国人习惯把姓放在前面，把名字放在后面，表示对我们祖先的尊重。美国人正好和我们相反，他们习惯把名字放在姓的前面，表示对自己的尊重。哎，你们有兴趣听我说这些吗？
Well, this is
they only
complicated.
respect themselves.
Yeah, I mean,
No.
well, it might be different interpretations.
Of course,
but,
and it's a movie too.
Yeah, that's the way it is.
It is a Feng Xiaogang movie too. So.
But again, Feng Xiaogang is the director for the blockbuster Aftershock, which is being premiered these days in China. Now, but talking about foreign names, sometimes it's also complicated to us, for Chinese people. I mean, sometimes it can be very long. It's you have more than
That's true.
3, 4, 5 names.
That's true because we have middle names.
All right.
And our middle names aren't necessarily names we use, but they are part of our name. So, for example, my middle name is Moore, M-O-R, and it's Gaelic.
So where do you get these middle names?
My parents. They're given to us when we're born. So I'm
Okay.
Charlotte Moore McInnes. My sister is Mika Lorian Morgan McInnes.
Oh, that's 2 middle names.
She has 2 middle names.
Well, I do have middle. It's slightly different because we also have, we don't call that middle names. We call that different first names. So it's on my passport. It's 3 first names.
Oh.
But I don't use them.
But
Oh.
talking about middle names, I mean, do we call you by middle names?
No.
What are they for?
You know, to respect our ancestors, maybe a person's middle name might be their great-grandparents' name. Or, you know, you bring your respect for your ancestors
Yeah,
in
Actually,
with
we have a
other-
something
tradition-
different. You know, in China, we don't actually use our grandfather's name or whatever. I mean, that's. Well, you see it as a way to pay respect to your ancestors,
Yeah.
But there have- in
you know,
China-
we think that is actually opposite. If you respect your ancestors, you don't use their name.
use their name.
It's different things. In France, for example, I said we have sometimes 2, sometimes 3 first names, and usually the last one is very frequently named after our godfather or mother if you're a girl. So my father's name is Bernard and my third name is Bernard, so everyone thinks it's after my father, but it's not. It's actually after my godfather. Whose name is Bernard too. But in China, I think it's not that common now, but it used to be in the families. There were different generations, and they would call, for example, if they had 2 characters in their first name, the first character of the first name would be the character of the whole generation.
Yeah.
So
So
all the
all-
children, in
all the
other words,
children-
all the children born in that generation have
Yes.
this character
Well,
in their
traditionally,
name.
Yes.
but you know, for example,
Traditionally.
in my case, Xiao is not actually my generation name, but I have another generation name. But you know, if you do it that way, if you share one surname with someone who you don't know and who is actually coming from a different place, but you get the idea which generation you are. And you know, in China, you do respect the tradition and you know the connections, and there might be your aunt, or you might be your uncle, a far away uncle. You know, that's sometimes very
Names
helpful.
are fascinating.
Yeah.
Names are really
The
fascinating.
next question we tend to get from foreigners: are you not happy? I mean, I guess it's when foreigners are not quite sure how you feel because you don't see it
or are
by
you
judging your
okay?
face, your expressions.
Is everything okay?
Yeah, well, you can see that in Asia. I mean, in China,
It's
Japan,
true.
Korea, you see that people are taught not to show everything on their face. Whereas someone like my mom, she cannot hide any slight emotion.
So it's when you are happy, you're happy all the
Like
time,
me.
everywhere.
Anything, like very, very slight thing when she's unhappy about something, or even a very small thing, you see it on her face. Whereas a lot for us, I think I don't see that much of a difference now, but I remember when I just came here, we all had that feeling that, you know, on Asian people's face, you don't see anything.
Yeah, well, you know, I think there's in Asian culture, and this is slightly generalizing, but you see it in Japan, in Korea, and in China, and I'm sure in other places as well. Reservation, or the notion of being reserved, is quite strong in the culture.
Chinese people, maybe in general sense, Asian people are more modest, more shy and expressing their feelings. And at the airport, you don't see actually many Chinese people doing hugs or kissing,
that's a
even though they
great
haven't
point.
met each other for a long time.
That's a great point. You know, you'll come into arrivals and you'll maybe hear 2 people say, "Oh, hello, wife," you know, "Hello, husband." So you know they're a couple, and they don't even touch sometimes.
Yeah.
You know,
Well,
it
I
might
mean,
just be like,
yeah.
"Oh, you know,
my
how
mother
are you?"
was my mother was just here, and my girlfriend's mother was here too. And my mother just one day just kissed me goodbye, you know, or good night or whatever. And she said to my girlfriend, "Kiss your mom goodbye." And my girlfriend said, "We don't need that."
Yeah, I mean,
we don't
at
need
the
that.
airport, basically the husband would just come over to you, take all the luggage,
Yes,
and
that's right,
it's
that's
all
right.
in there, and both people know
Yes.
they have love in there.
Yes.
They do care about each
Yes.
other,
And you know,
they're-
I think that's the important point to sort of make note of here. It's not that Chinese people don't experience emotion, or
We
that
do.
you do. I
It's
mean,
just
everyone
different
here
ways of
does.
expressing it.
Exactly.
We're all people.
Exactly.
And talking about, these days we also celebrate Father's Day, Mother's Day, and all these Western festivals. But for the children, they don't actually say, "Hey, Mom, I love you," or "Dad, I love you." But instead, they would actually either send their father or mother a text message,
I like you.
something like and also, or maybe a postcard.
But I see more and more of that. It's interesting because especially there are so many of those festivals and this day and that day and you actually celebrate more in China than in the West, I feel, because you have the Chinese celebrations and the Western celebration are as big here.
I mean, it's always good to have more celebrations, more holidays that we can celebrate.
And you know, things change so much. I think around me more and more people, as you said, more and more, especially in the young generation, they are willing very easily to say, I love you, Mom, I love you, Dad. And
you see it more.
But the thing is, and when they're little, they tend to say it more. But when they grow up, you know, it's all coming back again to their
A very good girlfriend of mine once decided she was going, she wanted to be very open with her mother. And she was talking to her and she said, you know, Mom, I really love you. And her mom's response was, why are you saying that?
Why are you being weird?
Why are you saying that?
Okay, anyway, I mean, these are the differences that we might have in expressing our feelings and expressing our love. And we have more questions coming from foreigners to Chinese people after a short break. And welcome back to Crossover. I want to say something about facial expressions.
No, because the original question was, why aren't you being happy or something like that?
Right.
And you know what? When I go back to Paris now, I feel the contrary. I feel people being kind of sad or feeling bad or depressed or not happy with their state of things, not happy with their life. Whereas in China, in the cities at least, I feel that most people are having a good time.
Sometimes we get sort of a complaint from foreigners, okay, you don't really have expressions on your face, it's like a poker face. But if you put it that way, it can be very useful when playing poker. You don't really have any judgment, okay? Is it good or bad? You don't know.
Beware, Las Vegas.
Anyway, this next question, this has something to do with this little box over here.
Tiger Balm.
Tiger Balm. Wow, and then the question is, do you have this or say the cooling oil? And if you have a bite of mosquitoes, and basically what you do is, you know, have a little something to the bite.
Put it on your temples, it refreshes you.
Exactly, it freshens up.
I know a lot of people, if they get motion sickness, they'll put this on their temples, and the menthol, it's predominantly menthol, camphor, will help them calm down from being sick.
And if you have a burn, and then it also helps to heal the burn. When I was little, I actually remember we did use a lot of this, especially, I don't know, with mosquitoes or...
Can I smell it? I love this smell.
Yeah.
This is the kind of... I remember when I got injured, I used some kind of oil, but it was different. Ooh. I don't know if it smells the thing.
And in 90s, and each year, they exported the products worth 12 million US dollars.
Another kind of cooling oil, it's green, and it's liquid.
Liquid, yeah.
And then that's used for headaches, also insect bites. It's not as good, though, I don't think. I like this better.
Yeah, but I mean, many Chinese people are always worried about what to bring if you're going to other countries. What to bring? It's Chinese products, and because basically anything you buy here, you can find maybe in other countries. But this might be something you want to bring from China to foreign countries.
You know, on these topics, the reason why people are asking if you have this, of course, is the stereotype of well, same thing when Chinese people ask French people same things about romanticism.
Do you have wine or what? Okay.
Do you all have lovers, or you all cheat on your wives, or? Of course not. And you know, this is very natural because you always hear the same cliches if you haven't really lived in a place. But what I feel is that a lot of foreigners have an idea about China that most Chinese people do the same thing, you know, behave the same way all the time. And the thing you feel when you've been here long enough is that everyone thinks differently.
And that's exactly why we're having this show.
Absolutely. And I think though, with any country, with any culture, if you've never been there, what do you have to go by? You know, you might know some people from that country. You might hear about it in the news, and that's it. So, you know, the cliches are there because...
The cliches are there because, you know, there is the information gap. And thanks these days to all the technologies, internet, shows like this.
Crossover.
Exactly.
You're absolutely right, Xiaojun.
Last year, I took some Chinese friend. We had a very good friend from Benin in West Africa, and we went there. And we went to, of course, the cities, and we also went to very, very small places. Like the kids out there, they have never seen the outside world. And you see that all the little kids, they see Chinese people, they do those
Kung Fu!
And a friend of mine, he was like, we had such an interesting conversation with one of the kids, and a friend of mine started to do some moves, and the child was fascinated and even a little afraid. You know, oh, he's Chinese, he must be good.
Well, at Kung Fu Master, actually, that is one of the questions.
That's one of the questions?
Yeah,
I'm
from
sure,
foreigners to
I'm
many
sure.
Chinese people. And we'll talk about that after a short break. And welcome back to Crossover. So this next question, many Chinese people would get from foreigners, do you know Kung Fu? It seems that every Chinese is a Kung Fu master. Good, I like that.
Well, that's also a stereotype, I think. I mean, obviously, not everyone in China knows Kung Fu.
How about you, Charlotte? You're
Not Kung Fu.
basically Chinese.
I can do Tai Chi.
No, that's Kung Fu then.
Type, but you know.
Can you fight
Yeah.
with Tai Chi?
No,
That's
no, I cannot. I
It's
cannot.
more like a physical exercise.
Yes,
But
yes.
I don't know. I mean, do we still get these questions these days? Because, you know, after all these interactions, because remember, every year we have over like 50 million Chinese traveling around the world, and every year we get over 100 or 120 million people coming to visit China. So with all the interactions, I guess.
I remember last year, my mother, no, it was not last, sorry, 2 years ago, my mother's, the first time my mother's orchestra came, some members of the orchestra asked me questions such as, because they remember that it is communism in China, and they were asking me if Chinese people had their own houses, their own companies. And that was interesting. I said, well, it's been like, you know, everyone around me.
First century.
And they were asking me like if it was still 1980 or 78, you know, and you realize that it's unbelievable because there are reports about China, about the economy, about Chinese entrepreneurs, about everything. In the French, like on the front page of the main French newspapers, it has been at least like this for 15 years. And still, you realize that people genuinely don't know what's happening. They have no idea.
Yeah.
I
So,
think it
you know.
depends on the people. It depends on where they're from. It depends on what they do. It depends on a lot of things, I think.
Yes.
And we have all these Kung Fu movies if we come back to Kung
Yes.
Fu. And there is one interesting story. A Chinese is visiting Tanzania and he wanted to have a walk outside hotel and he asked his local friend, say, is it okay if we have a little walk outside? Is it safe over there? And his friend just looked at him. Yeah, should be fine. You're Chinese, and all the local men think all Chinese people know Kung Fu. I don't know if it's a true story or just invented one.
It's a
No, but it
stereotype
happens.
story.
But I'm sure it happens. I'm sure it happens. You know, you just have to do a few moves.
Well, and that actually, this notion of all Chinese people know Kung Fu is a good testament to how popular and how China's Kung Fu movies have just reached all corners of the world. And
thanks to movies.
yeah,
And
movies and TV shows and.
Yeah, let's just show you some clips from the popular Kung Fu blockbusters.
Ooh, fun.
We have the Kung Fu Panda. We're talking about that.
Oh, I love that.
Stairs. Everybody was kung fu.
Are you ready?
I was born ready. Oh! Can I punch through walls?
I love it.
I love Master Wu Gui.
Okay.
Panic is not the warrior.
You just need to believe.
Oh! That was awesome! Let's go again!
And the voiceover for the Master Wu Gui is a Korean American.
All right.
Yeah, I have the Blu-ray at home, and I was checking out all
Okay.
the
Next one.
information.
Welcome to Beijing.
Now, this is the Karate Kid.
Karate Kid.
Gonna do something?
Be strong. Take off the jacket. And live in how we treat people.
everything.
Well, for this film, I guess
It's
Kung Fu is one thing, and the other thing is about all these Chinese landmarks, the Great Wall, the Forbidden City.
I love there's a line in this movie, well, in the plane. You know, he's trying to, Jaden Smith, the character is trying to talk to a Chinese-looking man in the plane in Chinese. And the other guy, dude, I'm from Detroit. and Jaden Smith say, sup.
What's up? Well, all these interesting movies, Kung Fu movies, is always popular with Chinese people wherever they are.
True. Well, with anyone, wherever anyone is, Kung Fu is always a very popular thing.
Yeah, let's move on to the next one. That is a bit confusing sometimes to many people, many foreigners, especially when they are first here in China. It's why do you take umbrellas when it's not raining?
Yes.
I mean, that's the questions to the girls.
But
in China.
and that's actually, I think this is an interesting question because in other countries,
people do the same?
Well, the parasol.
Okay.
I mean, granted, people don't carry
Yes.
parasols anymore, but, 100, 200 years ago, all women carried parasols when they went outside. And that's essentially to block the sun.
So when did it happen? The trend happened to be changed. And it's from taking that to, going out for tan or...
Yeah, tanning, at least in the United States, and I know in Europe as well, is...
Same thing.
I mean, as soon as summer comes, I have a tan.
We love the beach.
See my tan?
Yeah, it looks beautiful. It's an interesting. There are a few different concepts in there, but the main idea is that it's the same in Japan, it's the same in Korea. It's always the idea of being white. That is, like they consider that
maybe
in the
being
tradition.
pale. I think pale is a better way
Pale,
to put it.
yeah.
Pale skin.
Pale, yeah. If they call it white in Chinese, but yes, pale it might be more accurate. And you always hear that everywhere, that girls, women want to have paler skin. Whereas we think that, we are so white already, and we want to be
Have
tan,
some color,
And
yeah,
especially when,
healthy and-
we hate when, I'm so white that when I go into the sun, the first few days I'm going to be red. And it takes another, week or two, and then the tan comes really nicely.
And because the traditional belief, what is beauty? One of the many important criteria, especially for girls, is you have to be pale.
You see the Japanese geishas who are
that's
white makeup.
That's like a mask, That's wearing a.
True.
It's different idea. The traditional belief is one of the most important criteria for being beautiful, especially for Chinese girls, is being pale.
Pale.
And that's why you see all these, I would put it, the stunning equipments that we have to keep pale. Let's just take a look.
Well put.
Well, this is just an umbrella.
And look at how beautiful it is. It actually resembles a parasol, I think.
Okay.
With lacy
It's pretty
edges.
nice.
Bigger one.
It's beautiful.
It is.
It is beautiful.
Oh, and that's a real reflector umbrella.
Yeah.
My mother was asking that a few days ago. Same thing. She was seeing bicycles and said, wow, this is
And this is
unbelievable.
multifunctional. When it does rain, it helps a lot.
That's true. And
If you
it
don't
also-
have a raincoat.
Also keeps the sun off you, and I think also probably the shirt that she's wearing because she wants to keep her arms covered.
We have that. Next picture. See, this is a hat, but basically it covers your whole face.
Well, yeah, that looks like a motorcycle helmet.
Exactly.
But then you have that in cars, even in the West.
But then you
It's for
see
the sunlight.
the girl
also.
in black has this visor
side,
on,
yeah.
and that's a sun visor.
That's
It's a
right.
sun
I mean,
visor.
women will wear that on their bicycles to keep the sun off their face.
But
But have you seen the over sleeves?
Yes, the arm covers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Those are for that part of the skin, but not the thighs, though. The legs.
Here we go.
This is the one that I love a lot.
That's a great photo. And this is a common sight in the summertime.
That's true.
And actually, it's quite healthy. I mean, it's very important for all of us to get our vitamin D and to get some sun. But, you also have to be careful not to get too much sun.
exactly, and I was talking with my mother about that. She was actually using a parasol too. Parasol is the big one, right?
No, parasol is just
An
like
umbrella.
like an umbrella.
An umbrella.
Yeah.
So it's. My mother was using one too, and she was saying, in the West we used to really love to get tanned and everything, but there's also there are a lot of problems with skin cancer and stuff like that from people who get too much of that.
Hello and welcome to this edition of Crossover. I'm Qi Xiaojun with Charlotte and Julie, and today we're going to continue our series of the questions we tend to get a lot from foreigners
It's
to
a
Chinese people.
whole series we're doing.
I know, we have
It's
so,
interesting.
you guys have so many questions. Why can't you just understand? Just the way it is in China.
I wonder about some of these questions, though.
Yeah, I mean,
Just some of them.
So here's
some are
one.
true questions, some are
Why
not.
is your nose different than mine?
Yeah, because this is a Chinese one. Anyway,
questions we
this
get.
part is really, this question is, I guess, is a real question, and it really reflects what's happening.
Oh,
Why
the language,
Chinese, the language is so hard to learn.
Well, I think that has to be
Not for you two, though.
broken up. That has to be broken up into spoken Chinese and written Chinese.
Okay.
Because actually, I have to say, to make a case for spoken Chinese, compared to a lot of languages, I don't think it's that hard.
Okay.
If you can master the tones, which is a little bit different, Chinese has 4 tones. Chinese grammar is very straightforward. You don't have to conjugate verbs. You don't have to deal with singular and plurals. Chinese characters are hard.
Yes and no.
It's like,
No.
yes and no again.
You'll agree with me on
But
this.
it's
Yeah,
simple.
absolutely.
It's simple on one thing. Written language for me. I did study a little bit of Japanese, a few months, enough to see how it's made. Japanese, the Japanese language, I'm going to tell you something. For foreign people, for Westerners, Japanese language to speak is so much easier than Chinese. First of all, if you analyze the language, I mean, there are a lot of studies about that. There aren't that. I think there are as few different sounds in Japanese than in Italian, which is nearly nothing compared to the different sounds. In Chinese, you have like a few hundred of different pinyin, different like
phonetic,
phonetics,
phonetic
phonetics.
system,
Yeah.
yeah.
So it's a lot of different sounds. Even just the qian, tian,
Yeah, but you know
jian,
something
xian,
though? A
you
lot
know?
of them are similar to many Western languages. Characters, getting back to Chinese and why is Chinese so difficult to learn? Written Chinese is difficult to learn.
No, I'm just
Give us a
showing the magic
demonstration.
of Chinese characters.
All right,
Oh,
here
I
we
mean,
go.
okay.
The
Julia,
story is,
we're going
here's-
to convince you.
Oh, I have a
Here is the-
凉面.
Here's a little story, because in ancient times, a rich family, and the head of the family, he wanted to give some education to his children and say, well, it's rather easy to learn Chinese, the written characters. Say one, if I write one, that is basically
Yeah.
One.
bar.
That's right, two
Yeah.
now.
Yeah, if you write 2, then basically 2 bars.
Yep.
If you say
3,
3, that's 3 bars. Okay,
4
the
now.
boy said, okay, that is simple. Okay, so I know it. I know how to write Chinese characters. But the next one, he was asked to write the name of a friend, and his name is Wan Qian Bai, or Wan Bai Qian, something like that. That means, literally, it means 10,000.
100.
110
And 1,000.
1,000. So basically what you have is all the bars. Well, that's the little
Thousands
joke I
and
guess people
thousands of
invented.
bars.
But here is a little something that we're going to show you, just to show how simple and sometimes how complicated Chinese characters might be. So if I write this,
In a proper position.
so this word, this means
Yes.
sun.
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 But if you put it in a different shape, that's another word.
That's to say. It's
No.
the ancient yue or yeah.
So it looks the same, but basically it's taller. This one is shorter, but it's been spread a little bit horizontally, and this means to say something.
To say something in classical Chinese.
That's right.
Yep.
But if you put something over here,
That's white.
that's
White.
for white. This is the magic thing, huh? This.
Oh,
Tian,
no,
that's
field.
field.
But if you go further,
Oh, no, that's
Yeah.
carapace.
Yes, carapace.
and we're going to continue the magic. If you're going up a little bit,
Oh, then
that's
it's,
another word.
It's a passive. It can be a lot of
Yo.
things.
Yo,
Starting from, or something
or
like,
concerning.
Yeah, because
regarding.
in many cases, one character doesn't bear too much meanings. You have to
Right.
put it together
In
with some other
context.
characters.
But that is a character.
It is a character.
Yep.
And here we go. it's still the starting point.
Character for sun.
And if we do something like that, that means
Then it's the eyes.
the eyes. I have to look at the list over here. And again, we're going back to the bases, and we say this.
No, that's old.
Old.
Ancient.
And if we do the horizontal bar over here, that's morning.
Morning.
What else can we do?
The list goes on.
I mean, you never know. This is just a one word, but basically there is just only difference of one stroke, but totally as a different word at all.
And I think really it's that aspect of Chinese that is fascinating, really, and fun. It can be so much fun.
But that's exactly the reason that frightens many people away.
Exactly. This is also the reason why Chinese is so difficult.
Yeah.
And the other thing with characters, just to tack this in and then we can move on, you can't look at a character and know how to pronounce it.
No.
That's the main thing. When I was studying Chinese,
we have a language so difficult.
Yeah, we have a totally independent phonetic system to
Right.
go with all these characters.
When all is said and done, Chinese is a fabulous language and really fun to learn, and I encourage all of you to try.
Just to give you some comfort, I don't know all these Chinese characters. I have to refer to the dictionaries myself.
Exactly,
all the
as
time.
do we all the time.
Of course, well, the average Chinese person doesn't even know 3,000 characters, not included in the traditional and simplified.
Actually, I have never done a survey like that. I don't know how many
I'm not
characters
sure.
I know.
There are studies. I think you would know a bit more than 3,000.
Okay.
Traditional characters not included. I mean, like different characters.
Actually,
but there are.
I've heard the average college graduate knows 7,000.
Okay, I guess it should be more than 3,000.
3,000.
Well, if you include everything, maybe. But then in the biggest of the dictionaries,
The thing is,
you have like 90,000.
The only little game we played that means like 10 characters already.
I know. But really, it's a great language. I love Chinese.
Okay, that's it for this part of discussion about Chinese characters. And
Beautiful.
Chinese is fun. It's a beautiful language. Come and learn Chinese.
It's the only full language that fully writes down the meanings and not the sounds. This is the only language in the world right now.
Yeah, that best.
This is, on that part, it's fascinating, and it develops the right side of the brain
As well as
much
the
more.
left.
Whereas
Okay.
with the Latin language, with the grammar we have, we develop the left side of the brain, which is very abstract.
I don't know about
point.
that, but
This is proven.
And
That's cool.
all these characters came from the original forms invented, 5,000 years ago. And if you learn this language, you're going back to history. Think about it, 5,000 years ago.
Very cool.
A short break. And welcome back to Crossover. I just can't believe we spent over 10 minutes talking about Chinese characters.
Hey man, we
might
could spend a
need
whole
more.
show talking
do a
about
year about it.
Chinese.
But just remember what we are talking about today for this episode is
Questions.
the questions that we tend to get from foreigners to Chinese people. Here is the next one. Well, when did the city Beijing change its name? Sometimes Beijing is known as Peking, like in Peking University. In some cases, it's Peking Opera. But
okay.
in many cases, it's known Beijing, say the Beijing Olympic Games.
In a nutshell, before pinyin was standardized,
The modern phonetic system.
modern phonetic system for Chinese was standardized and made universal. There were many different ways that people would try to Romanize Chinese. And so I
Because
think
we said the characters, just simply by looking at the characters, you don't know how to read these characters.
right, and I think it was Wade Giles was one of the big ones who made basically phoneticized Chinese, and so things like Tianjin was spelled with a TS. Something,
Yeah.
TS.
Tianjin or something
right,
like
and
that.
Beijing might have been, if you said Beijing, it would be said Beijing, you wouldn't say Peking or whatever.
Yeah.
But when they Romanized it, it was P-E-K-I-N-G.
Yes, but
A lot
you know,
of Jing was K-I-N-G.
King.
Nanking.
There is one reason, I'm not sure about it, but I've noticed many times that a lot of the names are popularized. They were very popular before the influence of say mainland China even like in the 1920s and 30s, where a lot of southern Chinese people, Cantonese people from the Hong Kong, Canton region, even Chaozhou region, they went to the West way before the northern people went to the West. So their pronunciation, the Cantonese pronunciation,
they speak Cantonese.
I would say that Peking is a Cantonese pronunciation.
Okay, so it's not Peking, basically it's Peking.
Peking.
Well, in
No.
French
at
it
the
is,
spelling.
right?
In French, it is still Pékin, and I know that the Chinese authorities have been trying through the embassy in France to change people's mind, but
Beijing.
in the everyday life, it's so far away. It's
Yeah.
Pékin or Beijing. Beijing doesn't sound French.
And
No, it
So-
doesn't.
just now we mentioned, I mean, the name Peking University. That's one of the most renowned universities in China. We have a little logo, and that is the entrance of this university. And because this university has a history of over 100 years, I guess they're just inheriting the name from old times.
And it still is Peking University.
still-
It's not Beijing
No.
University.
And you still say Peking Opera more than Beijing Opera.
I think it depends.
Well,
But-
I noticed that because a lot of the Westerners who read about that, they read about that in the old books and everything, and it was Peking all the time.
True.
So people who have read all the books and everything, they very naturally will say Peking over Beijing.
Yeah, but it's not about whether we've changed the name of the city.
Exactly. So when all is said and done, it's not that the name of the city has
Well,
changed.
we did actually change the name for some years in the Qing dynasty.
Yeah, it was
Qing dynasty
Be-
was it was Beijing.
Beijing.
It was Beijing, but in the Republic of China years, and that's before 1949.
It was Beiping.
It was
I think.
Beiping.
And
Yes.
and I have to say Beiping in some English texts from that time, it was Peiping.
All right.
Beijing was referred to
Peiping.
as Peiping.
Yeah, and let's just move on to the next question. Well, this is actually that I got sometimes a lot in other countries when I'm traveling. Are you Japanese? Are you from Japan?
Well, this is understandable because back in the day, I think in the 80s, it was like the most obvious. Most tourists in the
Asian
I
phase.
guess this is a question a lot of my Chinese friends get when they go abroad. Less now, I think, but still, because people still remember the whole buses of Japanese tourists coming to all the places. Now it's more and more Chinese people,
Well, and
but still.
Korean, and I mean from
And
all over
Korean,
Asia.
Yeah.
Yes,
I mean,
but-
it's like in Chinese people's eyes, we don't really tell a difference. In many cases, foreigners, one foreigner from
Well,
another.
and you know,
it's the
that's
same case, I
ab-
guess, with Chinese people in foreigners' eyes.
Absolutely, because I've had people ask me if I'm Russian. I've had people come up and speak
you have
Russian.
Russian origins?
No,
No.
speak Russian to me, fluent, expecting I'll speak Russian back. I've had people think I was German, Dutch, and no one really guesses I'm American
You
from
could
just
be,
looking at me. I don't know why.
you could be Charlotte McKinsky.
But then in any case, that's also a good sort of. It happens the other way too.
Yeah.
People. It's. I mean.
But these days,
It's hard
and
to
'cause
say.
it's over 50 million people going abroad, traveling, and this number is also still increasing every day.
Yes, but I mean to come back to the way you recognize, I don't think it can be taught.
I mean, I know in Europe, they'll say, look for the group of people in tennis shoes, and they're the American tourists.
Look at
So
that.
Americans have this sort of stereotype of wearing tennis or sneakers,
Okay.
running shoes.
You say sandals. There's the word
Sandals,
Sandals.
yeah.
If you see people wearing sandals with white socks, it's Germans.
Okay.
German tourists.
So, there are these, they're terrible. I mean, come on, right? We all wear sandals and we all wear sneakers no matter where we're from.
Okay.
So it's silly. But sometimes you can start to differentiate that way.
Yeah.
But still, I think the best way to do it is just say, where are you from?
Just ask them.
I mean, it's a simple
And these
question.
days, we see all these Chinese cultures. We have more people using chopsticks these days.
Absolutely.
You don't have to teach them how to use chopsticks. And we also see many people doing bottoms up a lot.
Yeah,
and this is
ganbei.
being seen as all these alcohol giants as a new way of drinking alcohol. A trendy thing to do. Anyway, when we come back after a short break, we are going to present more questions we tend to get from foreigners to Chinese people. And welcome back to Crossover. Next question. How do you drink soup with chopsticks? Well,
Is that a fake?
No.
yeah, this is a silly question. I don't think it's happening. I
No.
mean, as we say, so many people are familiar now with Chinese food. There's so many Chinese restaurants virtually everywhere in the world.
And in Chinese cuisine and traditional utensils, there
We do have
are spoons.
Yeah, our spoons. Well, this is one thing that if we put it in a more
No, that's a
plausible way,
joke
I
question.
think that's a joke. But there's one thing. I tried to do that when I just came. My mother just tried that.
What?
Sometimes when you eat those kind of, tangyuan or some round things
Dumplings.
or
Slippery things.
slippery things that Chinese people all eat with a spoon, and foreigners still try to eat that with
They
chopsticks.
have the impression that Chinese people always use chopsticks to eat anything.
Yes, so it's pretty tough to do it with chopsticks, but they are still trying anyway. And then
Yeah.
Chinese people are laughing. Why are you trying to
Use your spoon.
Now, I
have a
will always
spoon.
say it's all right to use spoons in China,
Of
even in a
course,
Chinese restaurant.
Of course.
Yeah,
course.
but
I
you
think
know,
that's a silly question.
yeah, I don't think this is happening. But talking about chopsticks, there are some taboos we might pay attention to. You might be interested in. Well, this is actually basically from Henan province in central China, but I guess these rules may apply to many different places. The first one would be no licking. Don't lick your chopsticks.
Obviously.
No, you don't clean your chopsticks. Or
Same thing.
If
We
it's
don't,
good food, I would.
we don't lick a knife.
I guess it's fingers, you know.
We don't lick a knife.
No.
Yeah.
Well, that's
Okay.
because we might cut our tongue.
Not safe.
I've done that before.
You're good.
Not in France, though. Okay, next one, no wondering. That means, you haven't decided, because we put all the dishes in the middle and you share. You think, okay, is it this one or that one? You don't do that.
Right.
You just watch and decide.
Pick what you want. Pick it for once and for good.
But you don't. Once you've decided which plate you're going to, but it's not, it's something like you're thinking about, okay, this piece is not good enough.
No.
That piece
Oh yeah,
is
you
not
don't
good
touch
enough.
it and then touch something else.
No.
But you don't do that in the West either.
No,
You
I think that's a
Yeah,
universal.
that's something that we share.
I can think of two. Just tell me
Wait,
if it's on the list.
Let's finish the list.
Okay, if you want to finish the list.
And there is no rise on the chopsticks. I mean, when you go for something on the table, it has to be clean. Nothing.
So that contradicts the no licking your chopsticks rule.
That's what I was thinking.
Because what if you have a grain of rice on your chopsticks and you need to
But
lick
the
it
thing
off?
is, you don't spend time specifically for licking your chopsticks.
Well,
when you eat something, you have to put your chopsticks in your mouth, and that's what's happening.
so now if you want to talk about the details, licking with a tongue, but if you want to eat all the rice in your chopsticks, you don't use your tongue. I mean,
No,
you
you
need
don't.
just your lips. That's
I
all. So,
know.
No details.
I'm giving Xiaojun a hard time.
And no crossing. No crossovers. Basically, when someone is reaching something, you don't actually cross their hands
Right.
to reach your dish.
Okay.
No standing first. No standing of chopsticks in the rice.
Oh yeah,
Oh, yeah,
I was
that's
thinking of that
bad.
one. No,
That's
standing
one of
on the
yours.
rice.
I mean, it's no good.
Yeah.
Another one.
It's an insult.
Yeah.
If you have a rice bowl and then you stick your two chopsticks in the rice bowl, it's very similar to a bowl of incense sticks that you see at funerals.
Exactly.
So it's
Yes.
it's bringing in a funeral death.
Yeah.
thing to your meal.
We never do that.
No.
Good luck. And one thing, I still get, my girlfriend actually criticizes me very often for that. Very often, I will, wonder with my chopsticks, and sometimes my chopsticks are pointed towards somebody in front
No,
of
you
me.
don't.
And you don't. And of course, I don't do it voluntarily, but sometimes I just don't pay attention, and it's gonna just,
Yeah, that's insulting.
It's like
Yeah.
you don't point someone.
Right, yeah,
your
you don't-
country.
I don't-
do
yeah.
this. You can't do that, but, you know.
I know some people who talk like that, but
Anyway, and there is another one. It's like no picking of your teeth. It's like you don't use chopsticks to pick your teeth.
Like a toothpick?
Yeah, it's basically
Yeah, I
not
suppose
many
you
people
wouldn't-
do that. and
Yeah.
just a little reminder.
Yeah.
kind of teeth that you have.
Big teeth.
Okay, now let's move on. Next question. Wow, this is a common question. Do you have 关系 in China?
Strange.
Well, first, I mean, what is Guanxi? How would you
was gonna say,
translate that in
Guanxi is
English?
like-
Is it part of the English dictionary now?
No,
No.
I don't think so. Maybe some people might use it because they know the Chinese term, but we would say connections,
Connections.
or people you know, or
Did you say relations or
back doors.
Backdoors.
Back doors.
Yes. Well, but I do think that a lot of the, you know, the way I was saying on a previous show that, you know, like Hong Kong and Singapore, they insert English terms when they speak Chinese. Same thing among expats that have been in China for a long time.
That's
But
true.
talking about
And
all
we're
these
gonna
Chinese
insert those
terms, which are seen as English words like kung fu
Right,
or tofu,
right.
or what else do we have? I mean,
Long time no see.
long time no see. But in China, Guanxi is very important.
It's important, I think, because China is a very people-oriented society, and your relations with people,
Yes.
your connections with people are extremely important. Not to say they aren't important in other cultures as well, but in Chinese culture, it's extremely important.
The way I see it here is that I think in our countries, in the U.S. or France, we are more used to doing things without without connections or without asking friends to help you. The way I see it, I don't know if it's true, but in our countries, I guess in the U.S. and France, a little bit similar. We are used to do things without friends. You know, we are used now to find an official way to do things, and we don't have this kind of what we call 人情味in Chinese. You know,
But
and you
no.
I think that also, but I think that comes back to how in many Western societies, just to speak of Western countries, it's very much the society is very much based on the individual, and you don't have a network necessarily of people that, I mean. Whereas in China, it's very much a community-based society. And what does community mean? It means people. And so you have your people, your connections, and your ways.
But what I see is, I mean, in your countries, in America, in France, when you have a reception, you tend to invite people from all different circles, and all these people would meet each other and exchange cards or have a little dialogue. And in America, you have this Ivy League universities, and this is all like a huge network of connections.
This is true.
I mean, it's
Absolutely.
happening everywhere. It's basically just in different forms.
Yep.
It's everywhere. I mean, I know quite a few friends from African countries, and they have also all their connections,
Guanxi.
and they need, they need the friends. They are used to it. And they prefer sometimes to call a friend to do something rather than finding an
Saves a lot of
organism.
trouble. I mean, you have the confidence
And
in that.
we have Guanxi in America too, just like what you said. We have our organizations like the Ivy League. This random example, but you're absolutely right. Then you've got that group or organization of people, and you might call in a favor or.
Now, if we go back to how we establish Guanxi or connections back in China, it is very important to have name cards. 'Cause you need name cards
yes.
everywhere, all the time when you see someone. These are. Well, this is a
Well,
picture
that's
of
fancy.
very very well made.
Super
Almost-
capacity.
Looks like a credit card.
It does, and I want to show you another one. This is
Darling,
Oh, that's nice.
that's a restaurant, or
Must be.
must be a
That's
restaurant.
pretty.
I guess the Darling.
what is it?
Sweet
The
one.
Darling Room.
I like
Yes.
that.
What is
Is
this?
this a
This
name
is
card?
a card? It is.
Is
It's
it?
a map. Oh, that's smart.
Ah, they're actually hiding a map in the form of a name card.
Oh,
This looks like a credit card.
oh yeah. That must be an
Goose.
expensive one to make.
But there are name cards, though. I met a guy who was developing that many years ago. Their cards are electronic name cards.
Well, this is a golden one. Though.
Gold name card.
Wow, it
Wow.
costs a lot. Just to show how
more gold.
successful the company is. Now, this is the interesting one. So basically, they've included all these tiny tools
In their name card?
in the name card.
So
it's
it's
a
like
name card, but at the same time, this is also a little souvenir.
So it's like a box name card?
Yeah, as we are talking about
How
these
fancy.
receptions, I mean, when you meet new friends, it is very important for Chinese people to exchange name cards.
This is to me very Chinese.
And the way to exchange name cards, you have always use both your hands to give your card to the one you're
And
meeting.
you receive with both your hands.
To show respect.
Yes. And that's really a huge way people network here. You know, we talk about networking and having networking opportunities. In China, if you want to network, you have to have a business card.
Exactly.
Do you have a business card?
I
Do you have a
don't.
name card? I don't either. I haven't used a name card.
That means
in
you
3
both
years.
of you are not successful enough. You know?
But I have to say, we're not in the business sector.
We're not in
Or,
the-
you know,
no.
we're not.
But you know, you always receive name cards so
Oh,
much,
yes.
and you've got all these name cards, and that's why they've got the inventions, very smart inventions in China, because you don't remember all these cards, the names.